Welcome to the Ontario Mortgage and Real Estate Insights podcast, your go-to source for the latest developments, trends, and regulatory changes in the industry. I'm your host, I'm Sandy, your guest host from Keller Williams Legacies here to provide you with insights sourced from reputable news outlets to help you stay informed.
Steve Hamowen here. This is brought to you by Real Approved Inc., a trusted mortgage brokerage dedicated to helping Canadians achieve their home ownership dreams. Visit realapproved.ca to learn more about how our experienced team can assist you with your mortgage needs. Let's dive into today's episode.
Today, we're diving into some significant changes coming out of Ontario regarding housing targets and construction reforms. Recently, the Ontario government introduced new legislation aimed at accelerating home construction across the province. However, it seems they've stepped back from their ambitious goal of building 1.5 million homes over the next decade.
That's right, Sandy. The new bill, called the Fighting Delays, Building Faster Act, was introduced by Municipal Affairs and Housing Minister Rob Flack. The aim is to streamline approvals and cut red tape for developers, which has been a long-standing barrier in the industry.
Minister Flack mentioned that it takes too long and costs too much to build infrastructure and homes in Ontario. This legislation is meant to create conditions for home builders to do what they do best, build. But when asked if this bill would be enough to hit the 1.5 million homes target, Flack was non-committal. He emphasized the importance of getting shovels in the ground faster, focusing on the next 6 to 12 months to kickstart the process.
It's interesting, Sandy. The Ontario Real Estate Association and other industry leaders have welcomed the bill, calling it a big step in the right direction. They see it as a crucial way to tackle the province's chronic housing shortage and modernize infrastructure approvals.
Absolutely, Steve. Dave Wilkes, the President and Chief Executive Officer of the Building Industry and Land Development Association, remarked that this bill acknowledges the importance of producing housing supply faster, at a scale and cost that meets the needs of Ontario families.
The bill proposes several changes, Sandy. It aims to streamline municipal approvals, standardize development charges, and reduce regulatory burdens in the building code. Notably, it also proposes creating a new public corporation for water and wastewater services in Peel Region, which could broaden financing options and reduce reliance on development charges for infrastructure.
That's a significant move, Steve. The emphasis on transit-oriented communities and expedited site planning could help address bottlenecks in housing delivery, especially along new geo-transit corridors. It's a strategic attempt to integrate housing development with transit infrastructure, which many believe is crucial for sustainable growth.
Despite these reforms, there's still concern, Sandy. Ontario's housing starts in 2024 fell short of what's needed to reach the 1.5 million homes goal. The first quarter of 2025 saw starts at their lowest since 2009, according to the province's financial accountability officer. Homebuilders have argued that reducing taxes and fees might do more to spur development than regulatory tweaks alone.
It's a complex issue, Steve. The balance between regulatory reform and financial incentives is a challenging one to strike. As we continue to watch these developments, it'll be interesting to see how these reforms impact the housing market in Ontario in the coming months. Let's shift gears and talk about the new bill proposed by the Doug Ford government. It's causing quite a stir among tenant advocates and housing experts who say it could significantly alter security of tenure rules in Ontario.
Yes, Sandy. The bill, known as Bill 60, the Fighting Delays, Building Faster Act, suggests that the province might consider removing the automatic renewal of leases when they expire. This has raised concerns about the stability and security of tenure for renters.
Tenant advocates are worried that this could lead to widespread displacement. They argue that allowing landlords to adjust tenancy arrangements based on market conditions could effectively bypass rent controls and tenant protections.
On the flip side, the government argues that this change could bring more rental units to the market by offering landlords more flexibility. The Ministry of the Attorney General has stated that they're looking for a more balanced approach that supports both tenants and landlords.
But there are fears that this so-called balance could tip too far in favor of landlords. Ricardo Tranjan from the Canadian Centre for Policy Alternatives called it a straightforward attack on tenant protections. It's a sentiment echoed by many tenant advocates.
It's important to note that the government insists tenants will continue to have strong protections, including limits on rent increases. They point to the 2025 rent increase guideline, which is capped at 2.5%, as evidence of this commitment.
However, critics argue that the removal of security of tenure could render these protections ineffective. Once a lease ends, landlords could potentially raise rents significantly, making it difficult for tenants to stay in their homes.
From a landlord's perspective, though, some argue that the current system is too rigid and discourages property owners from renting out their units. Tony Irwin, president of the Federation of Rental Housing Providers of Ontario, has mentioned that many landlords are hesitant due to the cumbersome eviction process and economic conditions.
Dania Majid from the Advocacy Centre for Tenants Ontario has voiced concerns that fixed-term leases could lead to quicker evictions without landlords resorting to bad faith tactics. It's a real worry for those advocating for tenant rights.
The debate also touches on the broader issue of rent control. Toronto councillor Josh Matlow has expressed his intention to oppose the bill, arguing it would make life less affordable for residents. He believes strong tenant protections are necessary to keep bad landlords in check.
Meanwhile, Bruno Dobrusin from the York South Weston Tenants Union described the bill as a slap in the face to renters, especially those who have been advocating for the reinstatement of rent controls. He fears it could lead to instability and fear among tenants.
It's a complex issue with strong opinions on both sides. While the government believes that more flexibility could help increase rental supply, tenant advocates worry about the potential for abuse and the erosion of tenant rights.
As always, we'll keep a close eye on how this develops and what the consultations reveal. It's crucial to find a balance that supports both landlords and tenants without compromising the security and affordability of housing in Ontario. Now, let's turn our attention to a topic that's been making headlines across Ontario. The Doug Ford government is considering fully ending rent control, and it's causing quite a stir, especially in Toronto, where nearly half of the population rents their homes.
That's right, Sandy. The proposed changes are part of the Fighting Delays Building Faster Act, which aims to amend over 40 provincial policies, including those related to construction and infrastructure. But it's the potential amendments to the Residential Tenancies Act that are really drawing attention.
The government suggests that by allowing landlords to adjust tenancy arrangements based on market conditions, personal needs, or business strategies, we might see an increase in available rental units. Attorney General Doug Downey believes that finding the right balance could unlock tens or even hundreds of thousands of new rental units.
Proponents argue that these changes could incentivize property owners to rent out more units, thus increasing the housing supply. However, the concern is that without rent controls, landlords could potentially raise rents significantly, leading to displacement and instability for many renters.
That's the crux of the issue, Steve. Tenant advocates are worried that these changes could lead to mass evictions and make it much harder for tenants to find affordable housing. Carly Lewis from Toronto Life described the idea of mass evictions as a ghastly premise.
It's a challenging balance, Sandy. While the government is aiming to stimulate the rental market, there's a lot of concern about the social implications of removing rent control. On one hand, the government believes this could help address the housing shortage, but on the other hand, it raises serious questions about tenant security.
Absolutely, Steve. In a city like Toronto, where rental demand is high, any change that affects tenant security is bound to spark debate. It's crucial to consider both the economic and social impacts of such policies.
As we continue to monitor these developments, it's important to keep in mind the diverse perspectives and the potential outcomes of these proposed changes. We'll be following this closely to see how it unfolds. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of the Ontario Mortgage and Real Estate Insights podcast. We hope you found today's insights valuable as you navigate the world of mortgages and real estate.
Before you go, a quick reminder. Real Approved is here to make your mortgage journey smoother. Whether you're buying your first home or refinancing, Their experienced team is ready to guide you with personalized support every step of the way. Visit realapproved.ca to get started and take the next step toward achieving your homeownership goals. Catch you next time and stay informed with the latest industry insights.